months, 25% for 4 months. Valuable FD.
Very good evening and welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. You're joining me, David Paldano. Now, before we head into your stories in more detail, let's first take a look at your headlines this evening.
Public should not unnecessarily panic over Listeria infection, says health officials. Professionals meet President's secretary again. Meeting with President Wickremesinghe next week.
I think ඒක අපි සාධනීය දෙයක් විදිහට දකිනවා. අද ජනාධිපති ලේකම්තුමාගේ පැත්තෙන් ධනාත්මක ප්‍රතිචාර ලැබුණා.
Jatika Janabalavagia goes to court against a new Central Bank of Sri Lanka bill. No positions under Ranil Wickremesinghe's presidency, says Namal.
මම පැහැදිලිව ප්‍රකාශයක් කරා රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමා මේ රටේ ජනාධිපතිවරයා බවට පත් කරනකොට ඒ ආණ්ඩුව තුල තනතුරක් දරන්න මම සූදානම් නැහැ කියන එක.
No request from any state body to close accounts with People's Bank.
Now, taking a look at one of the headline-making stories, Sri Lanka's epidemiology unit said that Sri Lankans need not unnecessarily fear listeria or listeriosis. Chief epidemiologist Dr. Samita Ginige said that one person has died so far from listeria. What is listeria?
Listeria කියන්නේ
Listeriosis is caused by the bacterium Listeria monocytogenes. It is not something new and can be detected in the environment. The risk of this leading to a severe crisis is very low. An outbreak can infect many people.
පැතිරීමේ අවදානමක් තියෙන දෙයක්.
How does one get infected with listeria?
අපිට රෝගය
People usually become ill with listeriosis after eating contaminated food. It is destroyed inside the food system of people with average immune systems and there is no risk of spreading to other organs.
අනිත් අවයවවලට පැතිරීමේ අවදානමක් නැහැ.
What are the symptoms?
සමහර වෙලාවට
The common symptoms are fever, chills, nausea and diarrhea. The bacteria is more likely to sicken people who are pregnant and their newborns, adults aged 60 or older, and people with weakened immune systems. It could enter the bloodstream, then proceed to the organs, including the brain. It could lead to a severe situation. Furthermore, it takes about 2 weeks for the symptoms to show, and sometimes it could take even more time. If you have concerns, it is advised to meet a doctor.
පුළුවන්. සැකයක් තියෙනවා නම් වෛද්‍යවරයෙක් හමු වෙන එක හොඳයි.
Following the detection of a person infected with listeria in February of 2023 at the Ratnapura General Hospital, concerns have been mounting over this disease. The epidemiology unit said 2 weeks after that patient died, the 2 other children who were being treated at the same hospital were also reported dead. However, it has not been verified if those 2 children had died of this infection. One common factor among all 3 victims was that they had visited Adams Peak on a pilgrimage. Health officials visited food stalls close to Adams Peak and obtained samples from the food sold at those stalls.
We have obtained samples of the food consumed by the deceased from the shops they were purchased from. We have not gotten any confirmation that the bacteria was found at those locations. Some reports are pending.
How do we prevent it?
පිරිසිදුව ආහාර
Cook thoroughly. Raw food from animal sources would kill the bacteria. Listeria will not survive pasteurization or heat treatment at around 60 degrees Celsius. If you're eating raw vegetables and fruits, they need to be washed well.
විනාශ වෙනවා. අමුවෙන් ආහාරයට ගන්න එළවලු පළතුරු ඒ වගේ දේවල් හොඳින් සෝදා ආහාරයට ගත යුතුයි.
The Professionals Trade Union Collective met the Secretary to the President once again today. The group were informed that there will be an opportunity for discussions with the President next week.
The discussion between the Professionals Trade Union Collective and the President's Secretary Samaneka Nayaka took place at the President's office in Colombo. GMOA, FUTA, Ceylon Bank Employees Union and officials of the Joint Committee of Government Executive Officers participated in the discussion.
If the solution takes time, for example the solution from the IMF, and if that takes 1 month or even 2, Providing an interim solution during that period is very important to build confidence in the country. We emphasize that a solution should be presented very soon to provide relief to the unbearable tax policy. There was a positive response from the President's Secretary. This is not a blanket rule. There can be amendments, but it requires some time. At least the government is flexible, so we see it as a positive response. We received a favourable response from the side of the President.
අපි සාධනීය දෙයක් විදිහට දකිනවා. අද ජනාධිපති ලේකම්තුමාගේ පැත්තෙන් ධනාත්මක ප්‍රතිචාර ලැබුණා. විශේෂයෙන් අපි පෙන්වලා දුන්නා රජයේ.
In particular, we showed that there are means of generating government revenue that is more than the expected revenue. The President's Secretary also accepted it. We demand a solution with a certain time frame, which means that we must receive a solution that is certain and credible. Therefore, at the end of this meeting today, we were left with the idea that we will be able to reach a decision on this matter during the discussion with the President. We will not stop the trade union action at all. There may be slight changes. That is normal.
කිසිසේත්ම නතර කරන්නේ නැහැ. කරන ක්‍රමවේදයන්ගේ වෙනස්කම් ඇති වෙන්නට පුළුවන්. ඒක සාමාන්‍ය දෙයක්. ලබන සතියේ ජනාධිපතිතුමා සමග
We have an avenue to discuss this situation with the President next week to find suitable solutions. We are looking forward to it with optimism.
ඒ දිහාවේ බලාගෙන ඉන්නවා.
මේකට තියෙන එකම විකල්පය තමයි රජය.
The only alternative to this is to reduce the unnecessary expenses of the government and to take formal measures to increase the government revenue in the short term. As the Inland Revenue Administration, by transferring the department officials unnecessarily, restructuring the departments in some ways, especially in the large departments, distributing the existing files without any formal planning, have caused chaos in the department unnecessarily. The program to collect 1,667 billion rupees revenue target for this year has been severely hampered. Therefore, starting from today, all the trade unions in the Inland Revenue Department have merged and launched a work to rule campaign.
සමිතිය එකබද්ධ වෙලා අකුරට වැඩ කිරීමේ උරු සමිති ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයක් ගෙනියනවා මේ මොහොතේ.
The Intellectuals Forum for People convened a media briefing today and emphasized that the President has not taken into consideration the tax proposals presented by the professionals so far.
They said that a 36% tax is levied on the professionals to provide relief to the general public. So we would like to ask, why can't they provide a relief to the people for the electricity tariff with the tax they impose on professionals? Why can't they use this tax money to write off the loans of the farmers? Why can't the microfinancing loans taken by the women and the low-income earners be written off? They're only using this tax money for the expenditure of these bunch of rogues. It is no surprise to us that such things happen in an era where a man who was rejected finally gets into power. Until today, has Ranil Wickremesinghe at least had a single face-to-face discussion with university lecturers and all the union leaders? We have stressed the need for a good progressive tax policy as an alternative. There has been no discussion of any kind.
කිසිම ආකාරයක සාකච්ඡාවක් ඇති වෙලා නැත.
The teachers' principals trade unions state that they will continue their trade union actions.
On the 1st of March, we presented our demands by reporting to work in black. We suggested discussions and asked for solutions, but they didn't give us any solution. Even after the strike, there is no solution. So we clearly state that we will continue our trade union action. We make it clear that if these issues are not resolved immediately through discussions, our trade union action will continue. We demand a 20,000 rupee allowance and for the burden on the parents to be reduced.
The Workers' Struggle Centre said the small and medium-scale entrepreneurs will launch demonstrations against the government soon. Organising Secretary of the Workers' Struggle Centre, Duminda Nagamua, made these comments during a leaflet distribution campaign in Colombo on Friday.
The people who brought this country to its knees are not the ones bearing the brunt of it. It is the small and medium-scale entrepreneurs. That is what we oppose. This unfair move must be stopped. Last week, we saw trade union actions launched by professionals. By next week, we will see small and medium-scale entrepreneurs taking to the streets as well. This will not stop here. We are warning the government of the waves of the demonstrations ahead.
The Singharaja forest is home to two rare elephants, commonly known as Kuru Alia or dwarf elephants. The life of one of these elephants is now at risk.
මේ නිලුව පොලිස් ස්ථානය මගින් සිදු කරනු ලබන විශේෂ නිවේදනයයි. නිලුව ප්‍රදේශයට වන අලියෙකු ගම්මැදීම හේතුවෙන් අදිසි තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වී තිබෙන බැවින් ප්‍රදේශවාසී ඔබ සියලු දෙනා තම නිවෙස් වලට වී මෙම අලියා පළවා හැරීමේ කටයුත්ත සඳහා සහයෝගය දක්වන මෙන් කාරුණිකව ඉල්ලා සිටිමි.
The two rare elephants of Singharaja roam around once a year, and since the 14th of March, one of these elephants remains stranded in Neluwa Gaol. According to the locals, this wild elephant is roaming in the Neluwa Duliyalla, Kosmulla, Batuangala, Dimbuluhitiya and Happitiya areas. Wildlife officers have already launched an operation to direct the elephant back into Singharaja forest. However, given the distance between the forest and the current position of the wild elephant, this has proven to be a difficult task. Many locals refer to this elephant as Kurualia or dwarf elephant. However, according to environmentalists, this elephant is a subspecies of an Asian elephant.
When this elephant was roaming along its path, it has moved out of the forest, and then some young groups have teased the elephant, making it more angry. Therefore, it has entered the Neluwa area. This elephant has not harmed anyone in the area where it lives. Those people have a deep connection with this wild elephant. The conservation of the Singharaja Forest Reserve depends on these two wild elephants. These two elephants are carrying out a massive service to protect the forest, more than what is done by the Department of Wildlife Conservation.
Do you recall the concerns raised by Bhagya Aberatna during the Sirasa Lakshapati program? She pointed out that the destruction caused to the area surrounding the Singharaja forest has obstructed the path used by these two wild elephants. Is it not clear that the serious nature of the issues she raised are clearly evident when the existence of one of these elephants is threatened? Shouldn't proper action be taken to assure that the lives of these elephants that are crucial for the existence of the Singharaja Forest Reservation are protected?
Going in for a short commercial break, stay tuned for more of the very latest.
News First, main sponsor.
23% for 2 months, 25% for 4 months. Valuable FD. A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD. 23% for 2 months. 25% for 4 months. Valuable FD. A symbol of stability.
Welcome back to the news. The Satara Deepani felicitation ceremony was held yesterday under the auspices of President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
The Sataravadipani felicitation ceremony was organised as per a concept of Minister Bandula Gunawardena. During the event, tributes were paid to a group of artists who had contributed to the artwork created by Bandula Gunawardena. Veteran artists such as Dharmasiri Bandaranaike, Parakrama Niriyalla and Cyril Wickremesinghe were presented with awards by the President in recognition of their contributions. Veteran artists such as Professor Arya Ratnatugala, Kumara Tirimadura and Sarat Kotalavala were also appreciated during this event. The book Subandhu Cinemavata, which chronicles the cinematic career of Bandula Gunawardena, was launched at the event. During the event, Pragna Bandhu scholarships were awarded to students who are currently pursuing the GCE Advanced Level Technology stream this year.
It doesn't cost a lot to stop the water leakage, which endangers farming, which is the livelihood of about 100,000 farming families in Kantale, Suryapura. Although the farmers have tried their best to stop this water leakage, that has been happening for some time now. Their efforts seem to be futile. Farmers allege that substandard construction is the main cause of this situation. The lake embankment was repaired with concrete about 4 years ago, but as of today, it is of no use. The question is, why does no one want to spend a small amount of money to fix this problem?
The Sri Lanka Podujana Perumal has said that although the tenure of the local government institutions would end on the 19th of March, The institutions that are currently in operation should continue with the existing public representatives. The SLPP stressed that legal action will be taken if necessary.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna local government representatives held a meeting in Colombo on Friday. Their future activities were discussed under the chairmanship of the SLPP national organizer Basil Rajapaksa.
A Supreme Court verdict signed by two former Chief Justices clearly noted that local government institutes have been established to be operated by public representatives, and not doing so violates the fundamental rights of the public. This was discussed at the meeting today. The SLPP has decided to take legal action if necessary. On one hand, the local government election is being delayed. On the other hand, local government institutions are being dissolved. Today's meeting focused on how a delay in the local government election would mean that the representatives in these local bodies would continue to operate without the people's franchise, and how our future activities would affect that.
පිළිබඳව අපි කොහොමද ඉදිරි කාලේදී පක්ෂයක් විදිහට මුහුණ දෙන්න කියන එක පිළිබඳව තමයි අපි සාකච්ඡා කරේ. හැබැයි අනිත් පක්ෂවල නම් චෝදනා කරන්නේ මේ රනිල් රාජපක්ෂ ආණ්ඩුව කිසිසේත්ම මැදිවරණ තියන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. ඔය රනිල් රාජපක්ෂ කියන කාරණේ අද
This is not the first time they've called him Ranil Rajapaksa. This happened in 2005, 2010 and even in 2015. I don't know what sins Ranil Wickremesinghe has committed, or the sins or the good we have committed. But Ranil Wickremesinghe's name is always followed by the Rajapaksa name.
වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා රාජපක්ෂ කියන නම ගැට ගහලා තියෙනවා.
කැබිනට් සංශෝධනයක් එහෙම වෙන්න තියෙනවා කියලා දැනගන්න තියෙනවා.
දැන් මම පැහැදිලිව ප්‍රකාශයක් කරා රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්මයා මේ රටේ ජනාධිපතිවරයා බවට පත් කරනකොට ඒ ආණ්ඩුව තුල තනතුරක් දරන්න මම සූදානම් නැහැ කියන එක.
Vijit Vijayamuni Soisa expressed the following views while attending the media briefing convened by the Samagi Jana Balawegaya today.
What did two American citizens come to our country and do? They destroyed our financial security. The treasury was left empty. We lost out on the government revenue. International projects were rejected, and we lost the money that could have been generated from those projects. So they created a financial instability. Next, they destroyed food security. And what's next? National security. Now we have lost national security completely. We saw one wave where the intellectuals that call themselves the Vietmaga rooted for Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and look at right left us. When we came into power, none of these American citizens were here, neither Gotabaya or Basil. It's only after the Mahinda Rajapaksa government that these two came along. Basil Rajapaksa is the one who politicized robbery. He is the one who destroyed the country.
The chairman of the Election Commission commented on the country's election system.
If we speak about youth representation, in 2012 it was reduced to 30% and the mandatory requirement was lifted. When the act was introduced in 2017, it was passed by completely doing away with the mandatory requirement for youth representation. In 2023, there are 80,672 candidates. Out of that, there are only 1,482 youth. This representation is a mess. Sometimes when candidates are selected, they look for the caste that is favoured for the area. That was verified by the Delimitation Commission. The Gampaha district had 6 electorates and it was revised to 12. When you look at why it was done because of the caste factor. We believe a change can be made when women and youth step forward. Certain proposals have been made, but we wonder if this too is an attempt to delay the election.
The Jatika Jana Balawegaya filed a petition with the Supreme Court challenging the new Central Bank of Sri Lanka's bill.
The Jatika Jana Balawegaya, in a petition filed with the Supreme Court, noted that moving the central bank out of the purview of Parliament is a violation of the people's mandate.
Any institution that does not come under the people's mandate is against the Constitution. We do not believe that the central bank will allow this new bill to be passed. This cannot be passed even without a referendum. They tried to clean out the central bank back then. Now they are trying to make it an independent company and then take over the other banks as subsidiaries. The public finance power that is vested with the parliament is being removed by Ranil Rajapaksa to make the central bank a company. Then, as the finance minister, Ranil can bring anyone from overseas and position them there. This means the bill is paving the way for it to be made into a company.
Several other factions, including Venerable Athuraliya Ratanathera, have filed applications with the Supreme Court challenging the new Central Bank of Sri Lanka bill. People's Bank on Friday said that it had not received any direct or indirect requests or instructions from any state institution to close their accounts with People's Bank. People's Bank issued the statement in order to clarify the misleading newspaper reports regarding state institutions' bank accounts. Several national newspapers claimed that state institutions were taking measures to close their accounts with People's Bank.
US authorities moved to protect depositors at Silicon Valley Bank or SVB and Signature Bank as they saw serious risk of contagion that could have triggered runs on many banks.
The recent collapse of California's Silicon Valley Bank has disrupted the global banking system, marking the biggest banking failure since the 2008 recession. The bank's focus on venture capitalists and tech startup investments ultimately led to its failure. Excessive bank runs triggered by withdrawals from customers hastened the collapse. Despite investing approximately 55% of its capital in the US government treasury bonds, the bank suffered significant losses due to soaring interest rates resulting from government policies to curb inflation. Additionally, reduced investments in tech startups led to decreased deposits from clients. The collapse of the SVB triggered a massive bank run, and California regulators have intervened to shut down the bank and place it under the control of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation.
Silicon Valley Bank, what has happened to it is that when the interest rates were increased by the Federal Reserve Bank, they had a huge investment portfolio, and as a result, the prices of the securities that they were holding had gone down in the market, and they had to make the mark-to-market, they adjust the profits level by transferring the losses to the profit and loss account, and as a result, the entirety of the capital base of this bank was wiped out. So this is one isolated instance, not considered as a systemically important bank. Silogate Bank, the other one is called the Signature Bank. They were very small banks which had invested heavily in the cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrencies had fallen in the market. These banks also started suffering losses, and as a result, these banks also had a very low capital base, and the US authorities have allowed them to collapse as long as that bank is not a systemically important bank. Now, the advantage for Sri Lankan banks is their investment in securities, government securities, is only about 10% of the total portfolio. So as a result, we didn't have any problem about the decline in the capital base of the Sri Lankan bank. So therefore, Sri Lankan banks have been well insulated from this kind of market development because of the low exposure to government securities. But if had the Sri Lankan banks also invested heavily in the government securities, a larger portion of their asset portfolio, then of course we also would have encountered a similar situation.
Although the collapse of SVB will not have significant implications for the US banking system, it will negatively affect the tech startup system for years to come, as SVB provided loans and funding for novice companies and entrepreneurs deemed too risky for larger lenders.
Ravindu Varnaranga, also known as Buru Muna, a wanted criminal for a series of murders and other crimes, was arrested near the Avisavella court today. He was arrested while travelling in a car.
Buru Muna was identified as the shooter by detectives who investigated the incident where the owner of a restaurant was shot dead at point-blank range in Hangwalla on December 18th in 2022. Buru Muna had attempted to fly to Dubai under a false name from the Bandar Naik International Airport on the 24th of February, and he was arrested by immigration officers at the BIA, who then handed him over to the airport police. Thereafter, he had escaped police custody, and 2 monks along with another man were arrested by the Katunayaka police for facilitating the escape of the suspect. Police spokesperson SSP Nihal Taldua said that a husband and a wife duo were arrested for providing accommodation to the fugitive Buru Muna, who escaped while in the custody of the BIA police. Biz Fast.
The Sri Lankan rupee depreciated further against the US dollar and passed the 350 mark today.
The price of a US dollar, which was about 360 Sri Lankan rupees at the end of February, fell to 318 rupees in 10 days. However, in the past 5 days, the US dollar rose above 350 rupees. According to the exchange rates published by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the selling rate of the US dollar stood at 350 rupees and 22 cents. The buying price of the US dollar was at 332 rupees and 20 cents. Meanwhile, the price of gold in the market, which was gradually decreasing, has increased. 1 pound of gold that was sold at 134,000 rupees on the 9th of March was sold at 174,000 rupees on Friday the 17th.
Sri Lanka's Education Minister Susil Premajayantha said that artificial intelligence will be introduced as a subject for grade 10. He was speaking at the Divisavya program organized to support Sri Lankan students.
The Divisavya program, supported by LOLC Holdings, is a program where school books and stationery will be delivered to the students, and the distribution program commenced on Friday. The program took place at the Gane Mulla Sri Sumangala Primary School, and it was attended by the Education Minister Susil Premajayantha. This event was attended by Kitsari Gunawardana, Chief Operating Officer of LOLC Holdings PLC, and Gampaha Zonal Education Director P.D. Nanekara.
We have given instructions to distribute the school textbooks by the 23rd of March. Previously, it cost us 4,000 million rupees, and this time it costs us 16,000 million rupees. It costs 8,000 million rupees for school uniform material. The combined cost is 24 billion rupees. The production cost for textbooks has increased, and it is the same for school books, stationery and school bags, etc. We need to have an alternative. We need to identify the schools where parents are seriously economically challenged and support those children with free school books and stationery. LOLC Holdings joined us with their CSR project. This project costs 1.5 billion rupees. The situation is such that the parents are finding it difficult to afford the school books, bags, water bottles and other items for their children. We need to engage in social service to address that. We can only be happy with such acts. LOLC is a company that has such a vision, and we only expect that you study well.
The Divisavya program is also supported by the Ministry of Education and will take place in 2 phases. Under the first phase, exercise books and stationery items will be distributed to 1,419 schools with less than 50 students. Under the second stage, exercise books and stationery items will be distributed to 1,552 schools that has between 50 to 100 students.
The Indian Railways Buddhist Circuit Tourist Train has commenced operations.
The Indian Railway Catering and Tourism Corporation's Buddhist Circuit Tourist Train on the Bharat Gaurav Trains concept has commenced its journey. The Buddhist tourist train takes people to these destinations and helps them experience firsthand the self-disciplined and legendary life of Lord Buddha. The 7 nights and 8 days tour started from Delhi Safdarjung Railway Station and will conclude at the Delhi Safdarjung Railway Station. During the journey, the rail tour will cover 9 places across India and Nepal, which had a significant impact on Buddha's life and teachings. The train has 2 types of classes, air-conditioned first class and air-conditioned second class. A total of 96 guests can accommodate the air-conditioned first class, while 60 guests are allowed in the air-conditioned second class.
Indian External Affairs Minister Jaishankar inaugurates Jeffrey Bawa. It is essential to be there exhibition to mark the 75 years of the Indo-Lanka diplomatic relations.
Yes, sir. External Affairs Minister of India Dr. S. Jaishankar on Friday inaugurated the Sri Lankan exhibition Jeffrey Bawa. It is essential to be there at the National Gallery of Modern Art in New Delhi.
There are 2 kinds of people in the world, those who have been to Sri Lanka and those who will be going to Sri Lanka. I fortunately belong to the first category, and as someone who's had an association with this country today for more than 30 years, when I think of Sri Lanka, the names the images, the associations, Jeffrey Baba is a figure that very naturally comes to mind. High Commissioner actually mentioned to me that this event would be taking place today. I told him that even though Parliament is in session, I'm sure many of us will certainly find the time, given the importance of this occasion to be.
The historic exhibition, which features the work of Sri Lanka's historic architect, the late Jeffrey Baba, is jointly organised by the National Gallery of Modern Art in New Delhi, the High Commission of Sri Lanka in New Delhi, and the Jeffrey Baba Trust to mark the 75th anniversary of Indo-Lanka diplomatic relations, which falls this year.
A seminar, Trapping Trash in the Hamilton Canal, was held at the Ocean University, Sri Lanka in Mutwal today. Newsfirst's Ruhaza Irfan brings us this story.
Most of Sri Lanka's urban waterways are polluted. Over the recent years, multiple projects were launched in an attempt to remove the waste that flows down these canals. One such polluted waterway is the Hamilton Canal, and it is one of the most sensitive water bodies in the Western Province, not only because of marine life, but it is also the main canal used by Western Province fishing community. Senora, in coordination with the Engineering Innovation Club of the Ocean University Sri Lanka and National Hydrography Office of Sri Lankan Navy, have decided to bring a more sustainable solution to this perennial issue. Constructed in 1802, built by the British, spanning 14.5 kilometers, the Hamilton Canal was constructed to drain out salt water out of the Muthurajavala wetlands. Now today, Senora organized a seminar to enlighten the people of the pollutions in the Hamilton Canal. Senora, the Ocean University Sri Lanka and National Hydrography Office of Sri Lankan Navy have come up with a plan to set up a trash trap, and the project brief took place in Colombo. Captain E.M.A. Bandara also emphasized that the people and authorities near the Hamilton Canal to also be responsible in ensuring they don't pollute the waterway.
We want to think about two things. One thing is we want to change people's attitudes. How we change people's attitudes? We want to give the message for the peoples who are living in that area and peoples who are controlling that they are local government authorities. That level also need to take some appropriate actions to minimize this garbage collection to these waterways or canals.
Moreover, Senora is also expecting to involve university students and other organizations who are interested in protecting and keeping the Sea of Sri Lanka clean.
The International Criminal Court, or the ICC, issued an arrest warrant today against Russian President Vladimir Putin, accusing him of being responsible for war crimes committed in Ukraine.
Moscow has repeatedly denied accusations that its forces have committed atrocities during its one-year invasion of its neighbor. The ICC issued the warrant for Putin's arrest on suspicion of unlawful deportation of children and unlawful transfer of people from the territory of Ukraine to the Russian Federation.
On to your sports news. The 144th Battle of the Blues, the Royal Thomaian cricket match encounter, got underway for the second day today. Batting in their second innings, Royal College was at 168 runs for the loss of 4 wickets at close of play on the second day.
The 144th Battle of the Blues Royal Thomaian cricket encounter is being played at the SSC grounds in Colombo. Royal College declared their first innings on 326 runs for the loss of 8 wickets. Opening batsman Senadi Bulankulama posted 40 runs for St Thomas's College, who took to the crease to bat their first innings. Nathan Caldera made 20 runs, Mahit Pereira made 30 runs. The Thomaians could not post a mammoth total in their first innings, as a strong bowling performance by the Royalists managed to keep the runs under control. Bulan Viratunga picked up 3 wickets. Ranuka Malaviarachi, Sandesh Ramanayaka and Sinith Jayawardena picked up 2 wickets each. St Thomas's College posted 153 runs in their first innings. Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe was also seen among the crowd at the SSC grounds in Colombo. Batting in their second innings, the Royalists suffered an early blow, losing their first wicket when the scorecard read 6 runs. Sinith Jayawardena was dismissed for 4 runs and Uindu Weerasekara posted 28 runs. Skipper Dasis Manchanayaka, who posted a century in the first innings, made 57. Ramiro Pereira was on 46 not out.
And with that, we wrap up primetime news here on TV1. For more news, log on to our award-winning website. That's www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst team, I'm David Palgad. Take care and good night.